Good Tuesday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the YouTube channel that talks about the cars and trucks and automobiles and motorcycles, the internal combustion engine age channel, EVH channel too. How about that? Hey, look at the Jeep Grand Wagoneer. I just love this vehicle. Wife is taking it to Tennessee today, so it's on another road trip. Great road car. Hey, welcome to the channel, everybody that tunes in. Appreciate you checking in this morning. Hope you enjoy my channel. Hope you can share it with others to listen to the morning conversations of ideas and thoughts and all that good stuff. And oh my gosh, what a property. I mean, it is so much freaking work. I mean, it just doesn't end. I mean, I've done it so many years. Yeah, 2 zero-turn lawnmowers with 6-foot decks, 2.5 hours of solid cutting grass. Over 2.5 hours. I started before 6 o'clock last night, and then my daughter kind of started a little later, and it was 8:30 before I was done cutting grass on this property. This is 10 acres of land. It's not all grass, but the grass is growing so fast, and it's so heavy that you just can't go as fast as you usually do. So, oh my gosh, what a project. Well, I'm heading over to the office. This is my life on my property. For me, pretty incredible. In 1992, I established my own office on this property. That's hard to believe. That's 31 years ago. 31 years ago, but my office was up on the other side of the house. So that house was nothing what it looks like today. You know, it was a lot smaller. I did a lot of add-on to it. But 1992 is when I officially started my own company and got going on my own and went through a lot of hard knocks. And it wasn't until 2002 that I actually put this barn back together. And that wasn't really 2005, so I actually had my office in the barn. So it was always working out of the house. Come on, Will! There's Willow, the most common animal on the YouTube channel. It's never behaving. Come on, Will! To get in. So yeah, you're here in the office. Yeah, come on, pup. I'm talking about the office. Let's talk about the office. Willow, Jesus Christ. These guys were out earlier. Snapping turtle. Big ass snapping turtle to my property. These guys are sitting there wanting to play with it. Yeah. Anybody know about a big ass snapping turtle can do to you? Hey, Willow. Come on, dude. Willow, get in here. What are you doing? What is wrong with you? Why do you always have to be the bad one? Get in. Come on, let's go. Tang. Oh, my gosh. Let's chase the dogs around, right? Got the Jeep Grand Cherokee in the freaking garage just because. That's interesting. I never saw the camera here. There's a camera right there. I didn't realize that. And then down, this is the night vision one here. Huh, interesting. I put this in the garage. There's so much damn time cleaning this thing that I just dread the idea of getting dirty again. And then the wife, this thing already has 8,000 miles on it, and I just don't want the wife to continue driving up down the Route 81. This thing's gonna have 10,000 miles on it before you know it. So she's taking my Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Come on, pup. Come on, Tang. Let's go. Jesus Christ. Man, it's been a challenge this morning. I tell you what. One of those mornings. Anybody have one of those mornings? Trying to get to the office? Yeah, so let's talk about the office. Let's talk about how, in the good old days, going to the office and drive to the office. I mean, it's incredible on how the dynamics have so changed our life here in the last 3 years. I mean, over the years, but it's just the most dramatic change of the office lifestyle for so many that drive to work. That's changed so many things, and it's having a huge impact. It's having a huge impact on the markets of the commercial real estate. And so, yeah, what drove this conversation? Remember the series with Steve Carell, Jenna Fisher, all the characters in The Office. Yeah, who didn't watch that for 8 years? But I didn't. I was always a late guy to watch these sitcoms. Too damn busy. I always like Jerry Seinfeld. That was probably around That was probably around 5 to 10 years before I even started watching it. I mean, I've just never been the guy sits around at nighttime watching TV. So, The Office, yeah, who didn't get a kick out of that series? Even though when NBC, I guess it was NBC sitcom, new powers to be came in, they didn't like the show's type of antics. They didn't like Steve Carell for how he was just obnoxious. I mean, for him to get away in today's world, what could be gotten away with so many years ago. No, so I read years ago that Steve Carell, they terminated his contract or didn't renew it because the new person came in had a different flair. And we all know, if you watched that series, you saw the whole change of what we're witnessing right now. I mean, borderline, The Office actually could have been an eye-opener for us for the future of change of powers to be, of what starts to play out on how things are handled, how things are looked at, how people are treated, and, genders and all this stuff. So anyways, keep it on the car theme. So the car industry has totally benefited from The Office. If you think about going 100 years ago, in the times of growth of the automotive industry in our country, in the times of growth of the buildings and cities and businesses growing by leaps and bounds, and the infrastructure of people having to travel to a building to go to an office to report to work. And in the car industry was rewarded for that. So, I mean, so more than ever, not just so befuddling. For me, I mean, I am by no means an example of anything making sense. So I know, start talking, people are like, well, dude, why don't you look in the mirror and how does anything make sense of what you do? I'd be like, right. It makes no sense. It's nonsense. One of my good subscribers that owns that Octane Red Hellcat was at the car meet on Sunday, and he asked me, he's like, why'd you buy that Trummer truck? And I looked at him like, I'm just an idiot. I guess I think I'm 18 years old again, 20 years old again. I guess that's what happens. That for me, that was such my youth of where I came from, was these lifted trucks. That's what just drove me to go to work, and I just was so excited about having the truck that was lifted way up in the air and the badass look to it, and going down the road and you're the tallest guy around besides the semi truck. I guess it's just some type of energy release comes into my brain when I'm at the car dealership, and oh man, I gotta have one of those big lifted trucks because that's gonna be. I'm such a young, youthful guy. Yeah, right. He was telling me he's got the same problem, but he put a retractable step on there. And you know what? There's a new company out there from Rough Country that makes a better package for these retractable steps, electronic steps, and because the amp steps, they're now up to like $2,000. Those things used to be $1,200. Well, the E-Step in a Rough Country, I don't know if it's a Rough Country direct product, but they sell it through their website. It's like $1,200. I mean, so it's borderline $1,000 cheaper. So that's what I'll get for that truck when I have time to spend my 3 hours. That's what they say. It's a 3-hour project. Anyways, so whole point here is going to the office. The whole office infrastructure created the need for people to have transportation to get to work. And that's what I was just saying. It makes no sense that during the pandemic, when lights turned off, the office infrastructure disappeared. People were forced to stay home. But yet the car market went crazy. So, I mean, just scratch your head. So now you don't need to drive to work anymore. But now you need a new car. Now you don't need any real transportation besides local errands, but you need another new car or a different car. I mean, come on. I mean, right? And then the motorcycle sales, But so for the car industry, the office infrastructure really forced the hand of many things. Meaning, did you live in the city near your job, where you took the metro, you took public transportation, you rode your bicycle, you walked to work, which I'm sure a lot of people elected for that lifestyle? Or did you not want to be anywhere near the city or near your job, and you wanted to be out in the country, like me and others, and all of a sudden you have a 70-mile, for me, it was like 30 miles, 35 miles each way. So 70-mile round trip to where I used to drive to work when I first moved out here. And if I think that through, the first company I worked for, yeah, but then another one, that's like 80 miles round trip a day, not including me driving all around the Beltway and doing my other business. But the whole point is, so many of us wanted to be in the suburbans or the rural area, rural area, and you would buy a car and you had to kind of come to closure. What would be a good vehicle if you're on a budget? What would make sense that you could go back and forth to work in, but also had a little bit of fun or versatility in it? And that was challenging because if you really wanted that nice truck, you know that you're commuted every day, the odds are you're going to pay in fuel. You would think to yourself, well, I'm going to have to, and where I'm going, it's a truck going to be a challenge to park it. So, man, if you're fortunate enough to make enough money, then that's where you get the second car. I mean, for me, I pretty much always have had two cars because I would work out of one, and the other one I wanted for my fun time. And so for the most part of my life, I've always have had two cars. And yeah, it grew from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to, oh my God. Yeah, beyond believable, right? So, got my John Deere, little cup John Deere. It's so funny. I've made some of those quick videos, short videos showing my John Deere. And some people love the John Deere. Some people actually despise them. Yeah, I hear you. I get you. I mean, if I was a commercial landscaper, I'd own Exmark. I wouldn't own John Deere because John Deere are expensive. Exmark's the true and tried product. It's a Toro subsidiary. So, yeah, but people comment, oh, that stuff's junk. Well, for what I do and use it, I've been, for the most part, pretty fortunate on not taking care of my property well. So back to the office. So the office infrastructure truly drove so many variables of building this infrastructure for our country because just from the cars, but then from the suburbs where people want to live out of the city or out of the major areas where the major business structure was, and or the apartment and condos built in the city to accommodate people who want to be close to their job. And it's just incredible now in how the pandemic and all the technology, all this remote working has populated, and even to the point there's many high-ranking people are starting to pound their fists telling the federal government it's time to send the people back to work because the commercial properties are getting destroyed. The commercial properties have lost, investment-wise, the rights to REIT. Those portfolios are getting destroyed. Foreclosures on properties are starting to rise because they've lost their infrastructure of the people that drove to work in all the businesses. And I've talked about this before. This isn't per se anything new information for people that are pressed at times, but I think to myself, the car industry is such a direct relationship to the office because that's what drove, there you go, drove literally physically the consumers to buy cars and to figure out what would work for them that made sense in their lifestyle to what type of vehicle they would own and have. And so for the office industry, you're just hearing about how so many of these commercial buildings are actually, many of them are rezoning themselves into apartment buildings or even condos. Like Manhattan. Apparently Manhattan, it's huge Manhattan. I think many of those buildings up in that district are really just taking the offices and turn them into condos because you're going to be remotely working now. So it's kind of ironic. You think it through. If you worked in a really nice, posh Manhattan business environment, well, all of a sudden you're working in a really nice posh business environment out of your house. The building you used to drive you to go to work is now your whole home. Who hasn't felt like they've lived at the office? Who hasn't had that? Where I'm not trying to watch that series, The Office. It's something that creeps me out because I so used to work and live at the office, many years before I became independent to go off on my own and be an outdoor salesperson and create my own company and move on. But there's so many days. Who doesn't know? I mean, oh my gosh, I watched that show, And it's just creepy because you just know it's the routine that you leave your house at 7 in the morning or 6:30 in the morning or whatever time. You get in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're not leaving until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So you just live, and if it's a structured office job, I'm sure some people will watch this video or be like, yeah, I have that IT job where I got to go, or I have this job where I have to go and I have to be there from 8 to 5. I mean, it's an 8 to 5, but it's really 7 to 6 or 7 to 7, depending on how your commute is. And that's all in our variable for the car, the type of car you would buy, because you would want a comfortable car that could deal with all the traffic and the headache of sitting in traffic for maybe an hour a day. And around this area, it's huge. All the West Virginia people that have the government jobs that used to drive to D.C. don't do that anymore. And I was saying years ago, when this pandemic is done and over with, how are these people to ever go back to the norm of driving to work again? And I used to think to myself, I would think a ton of people would raise their hand and be like, I'm out. I just can't do it. I just psychologically can't go back to the death of going to work and having to get up. In this area here, you'd see the traffic take off at 6 a.m. in the morning, 5:30 in the morning from West Virginia. So there's people getting out of bed at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to go to D.C. to be in by 7 o'clock. These like Pentagon people or whatever it may be. And sure, they get out of work at 3 o'clock. But for them, it's a 2-hour drive in traffic each way. But they didn't want to be near the damn D.C. They want to be out in the country, and it's much cheaper to live out there. But oh my gosh, I guarantee I could be on this channel and somebody could reach out and say, yeah, I used to spend 4 hours a day prior to the pandemic, and now that it's remote working, my life is a whole new life. And that's what was talked about is when the pandemic came in, so many people bought toys because they had so much more free time because they weren't behind the wheel of a car for 2 hours a day. Because that's the whole thing. Your car, it was your borderline, your second home. Who doesn't know this story of living in vehicles? But more so today, the cars today, like what's really cool when I ride around in my vehicle, it's like that Jeep Grand Wagoneer. It doesn't have the hands-free driving, but it does have the stop and go traffic and the adaptive cruise. And so in heavy traffic, that vehicle, just stops and goes, and it has a little longer duration before it makes you overtake the pedal to get it to go again. But if you stop for X amount of seconds, the car then just reactivates on its own. So you're not having to put your foot on the gas and brake, which is huge on relaxation. And then on the Ford F-150 Lightning, the Ford Power Boost, and the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Blue Cruise, in Blue Cruise mapped areas and stop and go traffic, you're not touching the steering wheel, you're not touching the accelerator pedal, the one pedal driving, or the brake. The car is totally moving itself in the stop and go traffic without you having to have your body, holding the steering wheel and constantly raising your right foot to go from one pedal to other pedal, which that gets tiresome, especially if you're clutching a car. The kid has totally lost, total interest in that Mustang. The Scat Pack has ruined the Mustang. What's interesting is she gave up her Gold Rush 392 Scat Pack manual last year for that Ford Mustang manual. But now that she's driven a Scat Pack smoke show automatic, it's like she's totally, I think the Mustang is done. It's done. It's over. She just doesn't enjoy that, especially around here. Just too much traffic. It's a constant clutch in, clutch out. So I think that Dodge Challenger wide body Scat Pack with that nice exhaust has truly changed her whole look at the Dodge product and the fun factor, and she gets more fun out of that Dodge Challenger than that Mustang now. When I used to talk about how the rev matching, the exhaust, change different exhaust notes, all those things, but that's now that car's been kicked to the curb. Which that works for me. I want to get rid of it. I'll just get rid of the car then. I'll probably just use that to get the Dark Horse. But you know what? When is the Mustang Dark Horse even being built? I don't even think that thing's even being built this year. It's just too confusing, but it's got to be because the guys at the dealership said they had allocation this year for X amount. My guess is that's going to be a late summer, fall car is my guess. I don't, but I really don't know. I really isn't fixated on that. But for the heck of it, I put an order in. Figure what the heck? Why not? Just put an order in. So, anyways, back to the office and the cars. Yeah, I mean, the whole infrastructure of this country has revolved around the office that supports the auto industry. It supports the gasoline industry. It supports the mechanics industry because I've always have scratched my head during the pandemic and thought to myself, wow, these automotive shops and dealerships, they're going to have to see a lull because people don't drive their cars as much. But in all reality, it hasn't been anything radical, but it is different. The auto shops kind of have more of a kind of a wave type of business structure versus just solid. I mean, but and it depends what market you're in. There's a lot of variables that, but it just seems like it's a little bit more of a wave because people just aren't driving their car back and forth to work as much when they, had to use the car day in day out to put the miles on. Like my wife, she used to drive like 88 miles a day back and forth to work 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. And that's why I always had two cars of her because she's just racking up miles like crazy. But that's all changed. Now she goes in office like 2 times a week, sometimes only 1 time a week. So her, but what's interesting, my wife, sometimes the evening she'll just go take a ride somewhere because she's been in the house all day. And I mean, who isn't doing that? I mean, I know I've worked out of my own home for many years, and I just know that you just are trapped. And there's a fine line there where you're just like, I just want to get out. I just want to go somewhere because I'm trapped in my house. And some people just can't, after a while, deal with that. Some people can. I think some people just stay at their house, never go anywhere. And they're perfectly content. That ain't me. So the office infrastructure, is it affecting that's what I kind of wonder. Is like, if you don't have to be downtown to go to work, why do you want to have an apartment downtown DC or New York or LA or San Francisco or Chicago? I mean, why do you want to be in these cities now where the rents have gone through the roof if your job is remote working? And I think that's what's really happened too, is the rural and suburban areas have exploded with the real estate just for that reason. That's a whole other thing that the office has created. The remote working has created a huge demand for a whole different lifestyle for people that can now work remotely just about anywhere per se in the country. And you just think to yourself, so why is the inner city, or I should say the cities, still have a strong demand for apartments and high rents and people desiring to live there? Besides, it's the ease of walking to the local store or whatever else, I guess, and eliminates per se the transportation expenses. So, I mean, there's a lot of variables there in that, but at the same time, the office buildings are changing over to the apartment because I guess that's where they see the demand is going to be for more of that model. Reston here in Reston, Virginia, there's a guy back in the 60s, I think, that developed Reston kind of wanting to build that lifestyle, I guess, living that you were very convenient to the stores and your job and your home. Isn't that kind of the business model you see more than ever, is these town centers where they develop the whole infrastructure of the condos or apartments and the grocery store and the other stores? But anymore, everything can be delivered to your house. So, I mean, I don't really know if that really business model per se is really even what you're going to really go after, because there's so many things you just order that be delivered by a shipper. Here's what's interesting. The truckers, you don't know what to believe. I mean, anymore, you read so much stuff, but the trucking industry is in a shambles right now. Apparently, the truckers are scrambling for work, and the load rates have gone down dramatically, and lots of truckers are going out of business. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, is anybody really seeing anything radical go on around them? I just am curious. I'm just not hearing personal stories of anybody I know of people going broke and losing everything and things are in shambles. I'm just not hearing it. Does anybody out there in my channel have personal stories that can relate with the dire straits that may be going on around us, but just not being shared? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hear little stories here and there through the paper, like a shopping center here in Rockville, Maryland. It went to the courthouse steps of a foreclosure. There's an article this morning on the Wall Street Journal about a big-time a guy from India. That's the story of the gentleman came from India, had nothing, and came here, an IT guy, and just 4 years ago, he got into buying up apartment complexes, and he convinced other people as a group to help fund buying these apartment complexes, and he grew to 7,000 apartment complexes, and he grew into a $500 million business, and now he's going down the toilet. Now the raise of the interest rates and all these loans that he's taken is killing him, and right now, apparently, I think 4,000 of his 7,000 apartment complexes have been foreclosed on. And all the investors that got caught up in the moment with him of it'll never go bad and just keep on giving investing money are losing millions. One Indian couple claims they've lost millions of dollars, and they regret trusting so much in this individual that always preached to get bigger and better. And this individual claimed that it would never be a challenge whether the economy goes sour or not, because people always need somewhere to rent and it won't be a problem. I guess he didn't think about higher rates for, he had free money. You go back 2 years ago, you had free money to go buy stuff. Yeah, that's all changed. So on big notes, those debts, start to get very expensive, and they just couldn't collect the rents to offset the higher rates for payments. So apparently there's a story. It's also interesting too about I remember talking to somebody and I even read about it somewhere where people are buying these homes up, and there'll be like 7 or 10 people in buying up these homes to get a slice of the renting the house out. And I'm trying to think of the name of the company, or I'm sure other people are probably abreast of this, but yeah, during the pandemic, a huge trend was you get 7, 8, 9, 10 people that would invest into a house, and the house would be rented out, and between the 7 to 10 investors, you may only get $100, $200 a month on your investment, maybe. But if you do that 10 more times, with another group of people, or 20 more times, another group of people, all of a sudden you're making maybe $2,000, $4,000 a month, because you've gotten in with this group of people where now you guys own like 20, 30, 40 homes. And that was really an aggravation to many of the people in the housing market, because these people were forcing the demand and driving up the price of houses. But how is that playing out? I haven't heard any sad stories on that yet. But they say right now that it's just really now the time factor, that things are now kind of starting to really prevail from this higher cost of using money. And so it's really now, more than ever, you probably will start to see the change in the markets and the foreclosures on properties. And I get this one company now out of Florida that's always sending me these foreclosures, thing that's showing houses on foreclosed on. And no doubt, it definitely has grown. It has grown more so here in the last few months, where I do get a lot of emails showing 4, 5, 6 distressed properties, where it used to just like 1 or 2. So it does seem like that is kind of changing. And down there in Tennessee, I've noticed that some of the houses that were, like say 600 are now 550. I haven't ever seen in recent times a $50,000 discount or lowered your price in a home. I've seen $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. So, but what's driving that, right? I mean, so what's kind of driving that, besides we know the higher interest rates, but at the same time, they're remote working. You have to kind of think to yourself, is remote working going to kind of keep the housing market more solid? Because people are going to continue to want to be away from the city, and the rural and suburb, housing market will be the more desired place to live. And yeah, a lot of variables there. But anyways, just thought we'd talk about the office. The office has so many things attached to it. I mean, you can talk about how the commercial building properties have huge tax monies for the government bodies. Now it's being talked among the different localities and districts and jurisdictions on how so much money has been lost on tax revenue because these buildings don't have tenants in them. And my understanding is, I think your real estate is based off of the tenants. So if you have 100 tenants, you're going to pay very high real estate taxes. But if your building's empty, I guess then they can't charge you as much. I don't know. I'm not a commercial building property owner. But if that's factual, then then that's huge. Through all the cities in this country, it's billions of dollars in tax monies that have disappeared. But yet the governing bodies of these cities need more money to assist on more entitlement to people that need assistance, and they're wanting to hand out more government money to do more things with, which is befuddling. All right, everybody, that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. Hey, everybody, appreciate you watching my channel. What are we doing? I'm really wanting to take out of here, hopefully about tomorrow, to go to Tennessee to enjoy the Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see if that plays out or how what plays out with that. What do I take? What am I taking? Last night I had this idea, sell the Harleys. Yeah, I did. I was like, you know what? I ought to go down to Tennessee, take the Harleys down, and what do I trade them for? What do I get? What do I get in place of the Harleys? Last year I was wanting that Indian Pursuit. That's a really nice bike. And boy, I tell you, if they had the right package, Indian Pursuit, and I could dump some Harleys for that, would I do it? Yeah. Does anybody know my channel? That's dangerous. I better make a phone call right now to my Indian guy. Even though I was telling you the other day, do I go buy another bike from him? Well, yeah. If the deal is right, they better give me a lot of loving. They owe me a chunk of money. Hey, Shane, if you watch my channel, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, he's on my side. He doesn't own a dealership, but he's fighting for me. Mick ain't watching my channel. That's the owner of the dealership. Yeah, hey, Mick, where's my money? I want my money. Pay up. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching. Have a great day. God bless. Stay safe and stay tuned.